listening to the Liquid Shape Podcast with your host, Cody Perez.
Welcome, everyone, to another new episode of the Liquid Shape Podcast, episode 25, with your host, Cody Perez. And today I am flying solo. No Mariah, no puppies. Try to get her up here, but she's not feeling so well. Mariah was gone the last few days. She went to go visit one of her best friends, Amanda, down in Colorado, and she had a great time out there. She had a blasty blast, but today she came back and she wasn't feeling too hot. So she's getting some much needed rest on the couch, and the boys are comforting her. So I bugged her a little bit. I'm like, hey, let's go do the podcast because I waited this week for you to get here so we could do it. And well, of course, I wasn't going to force her. She fell asleep, and I'm letting her rest so that she can hopefully resume with her week this coming week for work and all that fun stuff. So it's just me. You're stuck with just Cody Perez, and I get to annoy you for the next hour or so. This week, my guest is a person by the name of Vinny. I don't personally know Vinny. I just started talking to him online from the podcast, and I asked him to be a guest on the podcast to come share a story, and we go over his journey through addiction and overcoming and finding his way through and getting sober. And it's a great story, great conversation that we have. So make sure you stick around for segment 2 to check that out. It's, like I said, a great conversation. Awesome conversation with Vinny. And I encourage everyone to go check that out after this is finished. And like I said, this week it has been a little bit different since it was just me and the boys here at the house. Mariah took off on Wednesday, and I dropped her off at the airport, and it was just me here at the house, man in the fort with the boys. And it was a little peaceful, but at the same time it was lonely. I let Mariah know, like, it's kind of sucked without you here because who am I supposed to annoy besides the dogs? I did a lot of I didn't do any cooking because when I cook, I always cook way too much. I even cook way too much for me and Mariah sometimes, and it's like we have leftovers for days. So I'm like, I will just be picking up food. And of course, with my luck, I always get people that fuck up my orders. And this certain restaurant that I think we've talked about on here before in the podcast, again, screwed up. I didn't feel like leaving the house, so I ordered DoorDash, and I had a feeling. I knew instantly. I was like, this restaurant always fucks up everything that I order. They're gonna fuck this up. So the tab came out to be like $25 total, and it was just a simple meal, but with their fees and all that, it came out to be $25. As soon as I get my burger, I knew instantly. I was like, I bet you they put some sort of weird sauce on this, either their burger sauce or some mayonnaise or something like that I can't absolutely stand. Sure enough, I opened the burger, and one of the buns is completely lathered in mayonnaise with the pickles and the lettuce and all that. I was so pissed, but I was like, I'm very hungry, so I cleaned it up as much as I could off the actual patty, and I did not use the lettuce or the pickles or the other bun or anything that touched that mayonnaise. I pretty much just was like, no, that's just completely slathered. There's no way to wipe all of that off. I'll get the taste in my mouth anyways, and I don't want that. And of course, took pictures, sent it into DoorDash, and my meal was on the house. So I can't complain. So shout out to DoorDash for making it right. And for any of you out there that are not aware of that, if they screw up your order, you have to speak up. You have to let them know. Like, all of these motherfuckers out there, they want to get paid $25, $30 an hour to make food and take orders and all of that, and they don't want to listen to what the customer states. Now, in this instance, I don't know how you could have screwed this up because it specifically asked you if you want sauce or no sauce on there, and I clearly indicated no sauce. I even put in the additional comment, I said, keep my burger dry. No type of sauce whatsoever. And it looked like they did it on purpose. It really made me mad. If you have a job to do it right. Don't fuck it up. Don't piss off your customers. Don't piss off your employers. Don't piss off your employees, because ultimately it affects all around the business. And it just made me very, 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 very angry. So I thought I'd share that piece of information with y'all. But this week has been a little bit interesting. I've been dealing with some sickness for like 2 weeks now, almost. Been coughing like crazy, and just I've had this like nasty cough, sore throat, lots of mucus. I've been taking all the medication I can possibly take. Nothing was doing it right. I even went to practice still just because I don't like to skip on practice. I feel like band practice is extremely important. I want to make sure that I'm the best that I can possibly be for all of you when you guys see us, for when we record music, for anything. So I like to stay on top of that, and I make it a regular thing. And I like the camaraderie that I have with my boys. Like, I love my band. They frustrate the shit out of me. They make me angry a lot of times. Things don't always go the way I feel they need to go, and I get angry, and we fight like brothers. But at the end of the day, I do love them, and I have a blast with them. So I do enjoy getting to meet up at least once a week, hang out, make some jokes, play some music, jam the songs, and what have you. And so we're getting ready for this tour that we're doing. So I was not about to cancel practice. And as you can hear my voice, I am not doing so well. My throat's just been on fire. So I scheduled a doctor's visit, and then the day of my appointment, I get this message from Kaiser stating, oh, your bill is going to be $400 and something. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, I have amazing insurance with my employer and with Kaiser, obviously. And so I called him right away, and the lady pretty much said that there's like a high deductible on it for certain appointments. And this was one of those certain appointments where if I didn't spend over $2,000 in medical bills throughout the year, I have to cover it myself. Oh my God, I just about flipped. I was like, you know what? Keep your damn appointment. I don't want it. I will figure this out and deal with it myself. I'm not going to spend $411 for you guys to tell me, oh, we can give you this medication here that's got codeine or whatever they prescribed to me. So I canceled it, and I need to speak to my benefits department. I've been slacking on that, but I'm going to take a look and see what exactly was happening, because there's no way. I was literally just at the doctor less than a month ago for my annual checkup screening, and my insurance covered it. I paid like $35, and that's normally how it is whenever I go to the doctor. I paid $35, and they take care of whatever else, the majority of the bill, because I have great insurance. So that really made me mad, and it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to pay you guys to just put me on some medication where I have to pay the bill again to you guys, because by the pharmacies there, and they're just basically making money off of me. And that was not going to fly. But I've been self-medicating with teas, throat coats, cough drops, fucking throat sprays, anything I can get my hands on that basically I can buy at the pharmacy. But hopefully it will get better. We're about 2 weeks away from leaving or so. We leave on the 13th, and we just announced some more shows. I don't know if I mentioned that. We're doing Sioux Falls for sure. So we're doing Idaho Falls. We're doing Billings, Montana, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We're doing obviously Cadott with the Rock Fest, and then we're doing Des Moines, Iowa on this run. I think we're only gone for like 10 days. So I don't even call it a tour. It's a series of shows that we're doing back to back for us to get out to Rockfest and on our way back home. I'm very excited because I know that I'm going to get to see a lot of people I haven't seen in a long time along the road. And if you are anywhere near, like I'm talking even 3 or 4 hours within the city that we're playing near you, I highly encourage you to come check us out. We are a very fun band to see live. We put on a great show. We interact with the crowd. We're going to be there hanging out, taking pictures. We'll have merch there for sale. We'll be making memories with all you guys. So I'm very excited to be out there and come be in your guys' face and streaming along with you guys and bringing these songs, the live version to you guys, and bringing the American Overdose experience to you guys. I think it's going to be a blast. I know it's going to be a blast. And we're going to make some memories. And I'm so excited for Rockfest because we're playing at a very good time slot where I have a feeling the stage is going to be just super packed with people, like extremely packed with people. We're playing, I believe, at 3:10 or 3:40, somewhere in there, somewhere between 3:10 and 3:40, I believe. And we get a 45-minute set. So it's going to be ape shit crazy. And we're playing the stage that we've played at the last 2 times that we played there. Sorry. This will be the 3rd time. And that stage is awesome. It's a huge stage, and it's legit great sound, great people that run it. And of course, the Rockfest crowd is just always amazing, and they love us. They always hang out and buy merch and scream along to the songs. They're aware of who we are. And so it's going to be such a great time. I'm just so amped up for it. You may have noticed, if you follow me on my personal social media, that I reactivated my socials for the time being. I don't know for how much longer. I'll probably deactivate again. The reason why I activated is that we put out a brand new single and music video for the song Oxygen. Now, if you have not listened to the song, I highly, highly recommend you go do that now. It's a very, very catchy song. It's amazing. It's going to be one of those songs that gets stuck in your head. And I could see it being in American Overdose's catalog for live shows, and a song that people will relate to us for a long, long, long time. It's one of those standout tracks that, like I said, I think it's going to be what introduces people to American Overdose. I could totally hear this song being on the radio, and already so many different playlists have picked it up, media sources have picked it up, and every day I'm getting notifications of different publications that have been adding it. The funny thing is that I did not miss social media whatsoever. I've not been scrolling purposely to see what people are posting or anything like that, just because I post my stuff and then I have to move on and do whatever else that I'm doing. And I handle all the other socials for the band and now the podcast. So it keeps me very busy, and I try to stay off my phone too. So if that makes sense, I have to respond to things and I have to post things, but I have to also be mindful that I don't want to spend my whole day on my phone. I've gotten really good about not being glued to it and not being a slave to it. So having my personals now up and active is very time consuming and very draining, because I'm posting on each one of them, posting on each one of the band ones, and posting on each one of the podcast ones. And it's just, it's not anything I missed at all. So I've kept it active for the time being. I will probably deactivate here really soon. So please, everyone that's listening, if you haven't yet, please go find American Overdose and the Liquid Shape Podcast on Facebook. Like us on Facebook, interact with those posts, find us on Instagram, because both of those are on Instagram. So follow those, interact with those posts, and on TikTok, where both of those things are on there. Interact with that, follow it. And American Overdose is on Twitter, X, whatever, but Liquid Shape is not. Just thought I'd share that with you. So Oxygen was one of those songs that or one of those videos that we had to scramble to put together. We didn't know what we were going to do. We'd been talking about it for months, because we've had this song for a while now, a long time. And I always had this vision of what I saw in my head for this song, but due to us being limited on funds, we're not a signed band. We don't have a record label. We don't have any management. Everything is literally done within the band. Everything you see. So many times people think that we have like connections to labels, or that someone in the band is funded somehow, or all this crap. We do a really good job of being able to get you high quality content with videos and recordings and producers and this and that, but that's all self-funded. That is all funded through money that the band makes and that I put into the band. And being one person that's putting money into the promotions, the PR, and all that stuff, it limits what we're able to do. And we're very lucky that we are able to do the media inside the house, which Brick handles pictures, and he handles a lot of the pictures, I should say, and handles all the videos currently, the music videos. We're very fortunate, because that's just another cost that it takes. And then you have to rent spaces, and then you have to buy equipment, and then you have to buy props, and then you have to hire people. So we've been trying to get creative with how we make our videos. I had this vision of what I wanted the video to be, but it just was not something that we were able to do and make happen. So what you got was us coming together and saying, let's do a performance video. And Brick had this vision of what he saw in his head with the lights and how he wanted the background to be in. So we trusted him, and it came out great. I'm very happy with the video. I think it's legit. I love the lighting. I think the lighting is phenomenal on the video. He knocked it out of the park with this one. And I think the important part with this video and with this song was keeping the attention focused on the song itself, because the song is just really good. And I'm not just saying that because it's my band and I'm in it. I'm part of it. It really is a great song. Whether you like American Overdose, or even if you hate us, even if you absolutely hate us, you can't stand us personally, you can't stand us as a band or whatever, you cannot deny this song is really, really, really good. It's great. It's not even good. It's really great. It's catchy. It's got everything you would want. It's got the heaviness. It's not over the top on the screaming. It's got really hooky, catchy lyrics and melodies. The lyrics anyone can relate to. So anyone that has trashed it or will trash it, it's just out of pure jealousy. They know it's a damn good song. So I will not let anyone tell me any different, because like I said, it would just be the mouth of a hater and a shit talker, which I don't have time for, and I don't care what your opinions are personally. But yeah, video came out, so I've been pushing that, promoting it, trying to do what I can to spread the awareness of it, and people are finding it. New people. We constantly have new fans every day finding us on TikTok and through ads and all that. So it's awesome to see the band growing. It's awesome to see that we're spreading, that people love us. Of course, you have your haters. That's always going to happen. And if we didn't have haters, I'd be worried, because then it's at that point that I don't think people are paying attention, and you want the attention, obviously. So we don't mind the shit talking. We just talk shit back to you, or we'll block you, or whatever. If you have not seen the video, not heard the song, I highly encourage you to go please check it out. Blast it over and over again. Add it to your favorites. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And add it to your playlist. Share it with your friends that might like it. And yeah. So with that said, let's see what else happened this week. Cody was alone, hung out at the house with the boys, watched a lot of movies. And today we actually went and hung out with one of my friends from high school, John. Happy birthday to John. He had his birthday and got to go hang out with him, and he barbecued and got to meet his family. And it was a good time, man. We went out there, hung out for a couple hours, and shout out to John and Stephanie for inviting us over there. We just got to see some friends, and it was good. It was good time for sure. So this week, for the question of the week, I got a lot of responses, which I'm always thankful for, guys. Thank you guys so much for sharing your thoughts, opinions, your stories, everything. I love reading these. So this week's question was, what's one thing you've survived that you never thought you'd make it through? And then some follow-up questions that we had related to that was, what kept you going? How did it change your outlook on life? What would you say to someone facing a similar struggle? I loved this question, and I really thought on it before. Like, I thought on the question, but I didn't know what my response was going to be. I thought about it for the last couple of days after I posted it, and I have my answer, and I will share that. But I'm going to let the fine folks of social media speak their minds first. This one came in from Nikki. And Nikki says, back on April 8th, I emailed my response about my toxic relationships catching my ex touching his daughter. That was one thing I didn't know if I'd survive, because the courts are a joke and did absolutely nothing to protect not only her, but other children. I found out the following year that he was caught doing that to a friend's neighbor's daughter. I'm not sure if those people filed a report or not, or if that was the reason he was run out of the Pacific Northwest. The fact that I had my son and had to raise him is what's kept me going. Had I not had him, I would probably be behind bars for the rest of my life. People may say counseling helped them, but it didn't do a damn thing for me. If anything, it created more hatred and resentment towards him. Even to this day, if ever given the chance, I'd go for him and make sure he'd never be able to do that again. I would make sure he'd suffer considerable amounts first. My outlook changed pretty quickly. I remember hearing stories on the news about that happening to kids growing up, and thought that there's no way in hell someone would be able to do that. Admittedly, I was pretty damn naive. Come to find out, people do it with zero remorse, zero accountability, zero guilt, and it's pretty damn disgusting. Being a mom of 3, I can't fathom intentionally hurting my kids for any reason. If someone is going through something similar, make your voice known. Talk with as many lawyers as you can to see what can be done. Make it known throughout town what they did do. Go through every single process you can to make them famous in a bad way. Every year on the day it happened, I make a post about what he did and the fact that he's still walking free because our judicial system is a fucking joke. He technically can't come after me for libel or slander, as I'm stating what I caught him doing. I don't feel like I did enough to get him in front of a judge because I had no money to go through that process. She will be 15 years old this November, and she still remembers what he did. Now, there were many motorcycle clubs he was trying to get into, and I made sure each and every one had a copy of my police report and what he was also telling the officer when he was interviewed. I've had a few other instances that hurt pretty bad, but this was the worst that I've dealt with because it was draining in every aspect of my life. It was so bad that I could not go to bed without that night replaying when I shut my eyes. I had to have music going and create my own music videos in my head to divert away from the images burned into my memory. Even even every now and again, those memories pop up and I physically cringe because I didn't do anything but freeze up. I feel so fucking bad that I didn't kick him in his fucking face when I had the chance to. My God, I do remember that story from Nikki before, and it makes my blood boil and it makes me angry that someone like that could be out walking and free after hurting a person, hurting a kid especially. Nikki, you definitely don't have a reason to blame yourself. Everyone handles things differently. And I just can't imagine. I'm not a parent myself, so I don't know what it's like, but I am an uncle, and I know that if someone even like harmed or touched or came near my nephew, I would absolutely lose it. I would go ape shit on them, and I would make sure that I did everything in my power to see that that person suffered the consequences, and I would ruin them. So this is not an easy thing. And I can't imagine to be in your shoes and in your daughter's shoes, man. That is horrible. That's not something that I would wish upon anybody. And hopefully that guy that did this, I hope that he gets what's coming to him, and he will. Karma has a way of finding those that need to be served, and his punishment will be well deserved, and I'm sure it's going to be suffering. And fuck people like that. Or in a situation like that, making it known what you're doing right now is right. You should be letting everybody know and speaking out about it and making sure that everyone's aware so they can protect their kids and protect other people from being around a person like this. And those people, there's going to be people obviously that don't believe it or that just choose to side with them. But I guarantee you that those folks will at least have that in their mind, and they will keep a close eye, I would hope, whenever he's around. So my hope is that karma gets to him sooner than later. This one comes in from X. This one's from Blacklight, and Blacklight says, my addiction to meth thought I would be dead by 23, but thank God I quit shooting dope at 26. Now I'm 49 and 20 plus years clean. Great job, Blacklight. I'm very proud of you. And Blacklight, I've met him on tour, so I'm familiar with Blacklight. He's been a good friend for some time now. Shout out to Blacklight for staying clean and figuring out that you're better than that and fighting through addiction. Addiction, as constantly mentioned on this podcast, is not an easy thing. It is like a disease. So anyone out there that doesn't understand that, it's easy for someone to say, oh, you have a choice. No, you don't. You really don't know until you are in it. And then you realize, like, wow, like this is not something I can control. This is not something I can manage. I can just turn off like a switch. So Blacklight, I'm proud of you, man, and keep going. And I'm glad that you're here. You have a purpose, brother. The next one comes in, and these are from Facebook. William Reynolds says, going through it right now every day is just a new horror, but I've always had a saying, don't play who's the bigger asshole with me. You will lose. I have to survive because I will not let them win. I like that attitude, William. I'm sorry to hear that you're going through some shit. But at the end, I'm sure with that kind of attitude, you're well aware that you will overcome, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. So keep fighting, William. Tim Roberts, multiple brain surgeries. My faith and support from loved ones kept me going. My outlook changed on life. Be present, be grateful, be thankful. If anyone is struggling with major health issues, don't be afraid. Stay strong for yourself first, and then everyone else. And Tim is someone I personally know. I've played shows with him in the past, so I've seen him post his journey, and I gotta say, man, you are one tough motherfucker, dude. Like I just can't imagine. I've never had surgery myself personally, but I know that I can just imagine what that would feel like, and to be going through that. And then just I commend you for being a badass, and you're around here for a reason, dude. So glad to see you still fighting and keeping a positive attitude. And you are definitely an inspiration for anyone out there that knows your story and you sharing this. So thank you so much for coming on here and giving us your wise words. Pauline Silenced Voice says, I would have to say the loss of my dad and brother back to back wrecked me pretty hard. I was on autopilot for years. Then we lost our oldest daughter and my sister during COVID. After that, something inside me snapped, because let's face as we all die. And rather you believe in religion or science, they both agree the spirit or soul lives on. Yes, I can't imagine, Pauline, losing close family members like that back to back, and then your oldest daughter. Oh my God, I just can't even imagine. Can't imagine at all. And you're right. the spirit does and the soul does live on. And I've been listening to a lot of, I think I've shared this on here, a lot of near-death experiences. And I love hearing those because as I get older, I realize that death is just around the corner at some point. I don't know. None of us know. None of us know when our time is up. It could be today. It could be tonight. It could be tomorrow. It could be a week from now. It could be 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, whatever. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be there for all of us. And hearing these near-death stories just gives me hope that there is life after this, and that we'll get to be with our loved ones again. Greg Epic, Strip. It's hard to see this. I can't even say it. Stipovich. Sorry, Greg. I fucked up your last name. My bad. I've lived through a lot. I mean, a lot. But the worst has yet to come, and I know it's going to be the hardest time for me. But time is on its path, so I'm just steady, not really waiting, but knowing it'll come. Just never know when or how. But it will be the hardest thing. I fought and damn near killed myself to keep this woman in my life. Days go by, and I've loved her my whole life, and then she goes. I don't know what's gonna happen. Best friend / mother. Yeah, that's losing a close loved one, man. That's not easy. I can't imagine. Well, I can. I've lived it. That's actually gonna be one of my things that I share later. But trying to find a way to stay positive or stay hopeful. That's the tough part. And I don't know that there's any words that I can say that can tell someone it's okay, or other than it's okay. You want to cry it out. You don't want to hold that in. I've done that before in the past too, where I've held things in and then later it breaks you. It comes out when you least expect it. And trying to hold things in, emotions and all that is never a good deal. Armani Beireva says, I've survived suicide 4 times, being raped and molested by a family member and abusive teachers and parents, and I'm a recovering alcoholic 4 years this November 7th. Live music and my photography is what gets me through. It also shuts up the PTSD. My goodness, I am sorry to hear that, Armani, and that reading these, it's like I don't know anything other to say than I am sorry to hear that you've gone through that, and it makes you stronger. Not that you wish that upon anybody, or that it makes what happened or what's happening okay or whatever, but I believe that everything happens to us for a reason, happens for us, not to us. And it's what makes you stronger. You can tell your story. You can hopefully help others that may be going through it, and let them know that you can fight through it and survive and see through it. And that's kind of just what I basically have to say about some of these things here, is that your story could save somebody's life. And if not saying that you should be going through any of this type of stuff, but if it can help somebody, at least there's that light at the end of the tunnel there. Jared Dime says, going on tour across the country with you guys. Specifically the first night in the woods. Oh man. And Jared Dimes, what he's talking about is the infamous 2013 tour that we did in a van that we had no idea was a piece of crap. Like it was loaned to us by a friend of our guitar player at the time. And pretty sure, I don't want to accuse, but I'm pretty sure that the van was stolen, and we're driving across multiple states to play a festival out in Michigan that turned out to be a shit show. Shout out to the A2 Fest, because bands like Head PE, Mushroom Head, Primer 55, Dead Horse Trauma, Green Jelly, I believe, was on it. It was a massive amount of bands that were on it, and Taproot, I think, too. We all got screwed. A lot of us got screwed there. And so we got invited to play this huge festival in the summertime. We were like, all right, we're just going to make a tour of it since we have to go out there anyways. Let's go ahead and play some shows along the way. So we went for like 2.5, 3 weeks, something like that. And with Jared, there was a lot of crazy shit that happened on that tour. Someday I'll have to just do a whole episode on it and maybe I'll invite everybody that was a part of it, and we'll discuss it and share it with you guys so you guys can kind of hear what was going on. But the first night he's talking about was we had to stay out in the woods, and shout out to my buddy Trevor and his band Blood Oath that we met up with down there. We ended up staying at the shady, like out in the woods of like Medford, and we just parked the van, and it was like we found like a shallow grave that looked like there's bones there. I don't know if they were probably animal bones, but we didn't know. And it was just creepy. We had, I won't mention who it was, but one of the members that was with us in the van failed to tell us that they had night terrors, and we were all asleep. And I think I was in the driver's seat, maybe asleep in the van. And that person woke up screaming bloody murder. And we all were, what the fuck? Like, we were freaking out. Like, what in the hell happened? Like we thought that someone died or something, or someone was getting attacked by an animal or something, because it was like screaming bloody murder. Turned out to be that this person had night terrors that he failed to tell us that he had. And so, of course, we found this out after it happened, and we were just all like, we couldn't do anything but laugh. We laughed the whole tour. We just kept bringing it up, but we laughed hard that night. So, Jared, you survived that, dude. You made it back. I almost didn't. I almost died multiple times, including the last night. Of course, I had to end dramatic, but we will definitely we'll have to have a talk about that tour and get more of the people that were a part of it to share that what their perspective was and what they remember. Because I'm sure there's a lot of things I don't remember that happened on that. Touring back then when I was partying and all that was a lot of partying, and it was a lot of foggy memories. I'll say that. Next one is from Joshua Holland. Joshua says, having my recording studio flood in 2010 and having to take almost 3 years to rebuild. With me doing a large amount of it, I decided that it was my choice to choose meaning. Is this to tell me to stop or to ask how bad I want it? Full-time producing for 8 years this weekend, which wouldn't have happened if I gave up. If it's worth the fight, then it's worth fighting for. I love that. Josh, you are 100% correct on that, man. I'm glad you're doing it too. You're an incredible musician. I love watching your videos you post, and you've been a guest on my podcast. So everyone go out and check out the Josh Holland. I believe it's episode 3 or 4, where I get to talk to Josh and his experience with recording, and he actually tells the story of the flooding of his studio. So shout out for fighting forward, or fighting on, and encouraging others to do the same, man. That's what this is about, is just getting people to know that it's possible, and you can overcome some of these tragedies. Next one comes in from Alex Frazier. Alex says, first real heartbreak. Was 18 and didn't think life was worth it. Not sure what kept me going, other than my family and my pup at the time. My advice, a person breaking up with you is not the end of the world. It may seem at the moment, but other good moments will happen to replace those bad ones. 100% agree with you, Alex. That's actually going to be one of my stories that I share on here. So I'll get further in depth with that. But Alex, I like your encouraging words and the way you're looking at things. It's very, very true. It's easier said than done for sure, but it is a fact. And Guido Magnone says, the death of my 2 grandfathers in the same year and my ex's suicide. These both led me to meeting my amazing wife. Almost losing both my wife and son during labor led to the birth of my son, an amazing loving kid. Pain is temporary, happiness is worthwhile. Damn, Guido, I am so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that there was light at the end of the tunnel, man. Like, these things are not easy. And what can you really say to someone that has gone through this other than I can say good for you for moving forward, good for you for sharing it and being able to talk about it and being an inspiration that you can live on, and you can see some sort of positivity, some light at the end of the tunnel. So next one comes in from Autumn. You don't need it. I know it sounds like nothing but a panic attack. Until you have had a severe one, you think it's nothing. But I literally thought I was dying. I couldn't function. My heart was racing. My body was numb and tingly. My chest hurt. Thought I was having a heart attack. Last thing I remember was telling my best friend I loved them and passed out. Woke up, still couldn't breathe. Ambulance came. I couldn't move my body. They had to carry me. Loaded me up on benzos to calm me down. Weirdest thing ever. Still happens occasionally, but now I usually can talk myself out of it. Sometimes it still requires meds. It's the new norm. Nothing I can do about it besides breathe. Oh my goodness. Autumn, I can 100% relate with you. And I think she added some more. Learn to live with it. Change my outlook because I realized what I wanted in life and stopped worrying about what people thought. I just realized I've been through a lot. I push a lot down. Doesn't matter how strong you are, you all break and are humbled by life. 100% agreed with all of that. And to share, Autumn, I I myself have dealt with panic attacks and anxiety, and this started happening like in 2000. I want to say anxiety started happening to me. I've always had it, but it really hit me hard around 2016, 17 ish, I think. And once I got sober, it even got even worse. So it's one of those things where when you try to tell someone that's never had it or had a panic attack, they don't understand. They think it's just like a simple, hey, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's not that. You really think like the end of the world is there. You think that your body's shutting down. You're having a heart attack. It's very, 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 very scary. I finally decided to go to the doctor a couple of years ago. They prescribed me medication. And as you guys know on here, I don't like to take medication at all. I just don't. I don't trust it. I don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. And if I can avoid medication, I avoid it. So I think I've only taken the medication in the last, 3 years that I've had it, 4 years that I've had it prescribed to me. I've only taken it maybe on three separate occasions. And oh my goodness, anxiety, panic attacks, it's hard to put into words until you feel it. But to me, the best way I could say it is it feels like the world is crumbling all around you. You're feeling claustrophobic. You can't get outside of your head and you feel like you're having a heart attack. At one point, I even actually went to the hospital because I thought it was, and they put little machines all over me and they found out that I was fine. It was a panic attack, and that's when I actually got prescribed the medication. But yeah, I've been learning to breathe. I've been learning to, like, my girlfriend Mariah will rub the top of my head or give me a massage or something just to like get my mind off of it or keep me preoccupied to get me to down. And it really sucks when it happens at the most inconvenient times. Sometimes it's like right before you go somewhere that you're going to be around a lot of people, and it's like, fuck, like I have to figure this out now, and I gotta get through this. Like I can't just cancel. I don't want to cancel. That's the last thing I want to do is cancel because I have an anxiety attack. And I remember, I won't mention specifics, but I was going to meet up with a celebrity, and I was like freaking myself out over it and all excited. But at the same time, I was like, I'm having a panic attack. And I don't know if it was the excitement of meeting them, person that I was meeting up with that I looked up to that was awesome, whatever. And partially my anxiety, but I decided not to cancel, and I made it happen. And I went, and it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm glad I'm not letting it stop me. But I can see that there is people out there that it does stop you and it prevents you from being able to live your life. And the only thing I can say is that if you can, just keep pushing through. Don't let it control you. You got to fight through it. Next one comes in from Brent Lamro. Brent says, heroin and meth addiction, overdosed back in 2010. Didn't touch it again after that. Then spent 5 or 6 years as a daily meth user. Currently clean. Have been for a few years now. I would tell people that the withdrawal and bullshit that comes with quitting is 100% worth the pain and the struggle. A relapse is just a setback, not a death sentence. Yeah, Brent, thank you so much for sharing that, and congratulations on being sober, man. Like it's a tough thing. Addiction is a horrible, horrible, horrible thing. And it sucks when other people don't understand it. But I think a lot of people now do, because more people are talking about it. More people are affected by it. Whether you are a person that's addicted, or your significant other is, or a family member, brother, sister, mother, father, grandparent, aunt, uncle, whatever, cousin, best friend. It affects people. And the more we talk about it, the more we can find ways of dealing with it, I should say. I don't know how there's not a cure for it. I always mention that there really isn't a cure. And for me, getting sober I had to make this choice myself. There was nothing that was going to do it other than me wanting it and me being determined and drilling that into myself that I was not going to do it anymore, and I was going to make a change and set my foot down. The next one comes in from Samantha Kessinger. Samantha says, the death of my mom. She raised me and my sister on her own. My dad left when I was 2 with no contact until 2012. He died a year later. Dealing with it was not easy to this day, and it's going on 11 years. I know for a fact she would want me and my sister to keep going, especially after my sister had a liver transplant in 2023. Advice for anyone going through this: keep the memories alive, whether it be something that was said, something they did, or any little memory you have of them. Plus, I've got some of her ashes, so I know she haunts my house and haunts my sister also. Not in a bad way, mostly knocking on cupboards or pushing over empty boxes. I love that, Samantha. That's awesome. And I can't imagine losing your mother. I lost my father. I luckily still have my mom, but a mother, as I've mentioned many times before, is something very, 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 very special. And then losing both of your parents, like that's really rough. Even if your dad wasn't a part of your life for for a long time, still knowing that your two parents are gone. I can't imagine. But you're right. And then this is another one of those examples that I was going to talk about that as my own personal story when I share mine. But keeping the memories alive, reminding yourself, looking at the pictures and knowing that the person is with you. You feel their presence. You know that they're around, they're watching over you. Little things that remind you, things that come up, random dreams that you have of them. I think it's just another way of them getting communication and letting you know that, hey, I'm still around, I'm still here for you, I love you, and just saying hello. John Dawson says, in all honesty, I never thought I'd survive my dad passing away. The man was always my rock. He was always my safety net and my hero. He got me through an abusive marriage. He got me through my kids being ripped away from me. He gave me a place to sleep when I was homeless. What got me through it was God. I know that might sound corny to some people, but never really had faith till my dad passed. I always believed there was something out there, but couldn't land on what exactly it was. But I know that it could have only been God and the support of my wife, current wife, not abusive ex, that got me through it. Yeah, losing a parent is rough. That's one of those things that I always feel bad when I hear that someone's lost their parent, and it's not an easy thing. That you have one mom, you have one dad, whether they're biological or not. The person that raised you, the person that was there for you, and all that. It's a tough thing, man. And I don't think it's corny at all. I especially more recently have gotten more in touch with my beliefs, and it helps you get through the tough times. It helps you even when things are not tough. Just being thankful, and I don't want to sound preachy on here, obviously, but I think having a connection, spiritual connection, faith in something does help us and gives us hope. Next one's from James Browning. James says, honestly, my teens through my mid-20s, I was spiraling downward pretty fast, mid-teens, and got moved from my grandparents' house to a verbally and physically abusive father whom I barely knew. After joining the military, I started binge drinking. Never expected to make it past 25. Lucky for me, I met my wife at 24, got married, and had my first child at 26. Vowed never to be the man that my father was, and that alone changed my whole life. Without my wife and kids, I would almost absolutely not be here, either by my alcoholism or by my own thing. James, I'm glad to hear that you were able to fight through that and get through it. And I'm sorry that you were physically and verbally abused. That's a horrible thing, man. I'm glad that your wife and your kids helped save you and helped encourage you to push forward, and you're still here. So glad you're able to fight the alcoholism, because, like I said, as I mentioned on here, drugs and addiction, alcohol, all that is just, it's a killer. Carla J. Green Sheedy says, when my husband had an affair, aftermath was worse than the affair itself. Music got me through most of it, and support from friends. It made me bitter, even though I stayed. My advice would be do what I could not. Leave, especially if they aren't sorry. Yeah, Carla, I agree. I've been cheated on before multiple times by different girls, and it sucks. It's one of the worst things ever. And the only thing I can say is that if they say they're going to change, or they changed, or whatever, don't believe it, and they'll do it again. And at some point, you got to be like, all right, I got to take some accountability in this. I'm letting this happen. And I'm a firm believer of once a cheater, always a cheater. So there's that. Curious Emberborn says, your time away from social media, I was distraught, lost and confused, and then you came back. Thanks, sweet baby Jesus. My real answer is in my episode of this podcast, but I still wanted to chime in. Thanks a lot, Curious. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but as I mentioned, I'm probably going to be taking down my social media again. So please follow the Liquid Shape podcast on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Facebook. The next one's from Joy, Nick Newton. Joy says, toxic marriage with children. Just stop fighting. The aftermath still lingers. Children are now grown and thriving. We all still have the mental scars. Life seems to shine now. Yeah, a toxic relationship is always bad. And what sucks is if there's children involved, of course, they see that. And how does that affect them? Because it does. Eventually it does. And it's one of those things that it makes you wonder, is that how they're going to perceive what love is? Are they going to pass that down to their next relationship? If you're in something bad, you got to get out. Even if you have kids, they're going to be better off in the long run. They're going to know that you respect yourself. They're going to know that you won't put up with that kind of shit and the shit that they're putting you through. It goes back to the message that Carla mentioned earlier. When you're in a relationship with someone that's cheating on you, someone that's abusive in physical or verbal or emotional ways, you have to cut it. because that's not going to change. People continue to do things, and they just get better about how they do it. They manipulate more. They get sneakier about it. They're sneakier about everything in general. So if you are in one of those situations, just get out. It's best that you do. You're going to avoid yourself a lot of heartache. Mike Robinson says, my divorce from my narcissistic ex-wife and the years of mental, physical, and gaslighting abuse. My 2 daughters saved my life when I stopped eating for nearly 2 weeks. That's when I reverted back to you and American Overdose that helped me find purpose and push and drive alongside bands like Slipknot, Mudvayne, Mushroomhead, Spineshink, and more. Don't fucking quit. Fight harder because when you reach that other side, the sweet release that you are still alive, breathing, kicking, and screaming your way to a much better life with self-respect and purpose will show you that you are a true warrior. Without these key elements, I probably would not be here today. Thank you, Cody Perez, and I hope this makes it onto the show. Of course it makes it on the show, Mike. I am so happy to hear that, man. I'm happy that American Overdose was a part of being able to encourage you to keep fighting and pushing through. That is exactly what we want to be as a band that people can relate to. People can use that as fuel, as fire. Brings up your self-esteem. We want to build self-esteem. We want you to be proud of who the hell you are. We want you to rise above the craziness and know that you're not alone, that these thoughts of suicide, thoughts of hurt, thoughts of addiction, thoughts of wanting to give up, thoughts of betrayal, and all this shit that happens to us. We want you to know with our music that we have gone through that. We have experienced it. There's other people out there that have experienced it, and we sing about it, we talk about it, and we try to encourage people to get through it, push through it. It sucks. It really, really does suck. So we with our music, we hope that the message is clear that we've been there, we're going through it, you can get through it, you will fight through it, and you will be better at the end of the day when it's all said and done. And you will find that life is like a roller coaster. It has its ups and its downs. And right when you feel like you're at your ultimate bottom, just know that the only way is up from there. It's going to get better. So I'm glad to hear that, Mike. Glad that you are kicking ass and you're out there being a warrior. Like you said, fucking don't quit. Don't fucking quit. Don't ever fucking quit. Next one is from Melissa Meanley. Half a century of life. All right. And then Steve Meltzer says suicide. Suicide is that's a touchy subject. And unfortunately, it's something that we're still dealing with today, man. Like everyone out there knows someone or has been affected by someone that has taken their lives, or maybe you've been close to. And it's a place that is a darkness that I don't wish upon anybody. I really don't. It's not really something you could put into words. It really is not. It's a dark feeling of a bottomless, emptiness, darkness, and it's something that we definitely need to talk about, because sometimes people might think like, am I the only one that is living like this? Am I the only one that's ever felt like this? Am I alone in this? Does anyone care? And the answer is you're not alone. And yes, people do care. The world is a better place because you are in it. And the people that are around you, there's always going to be someone that's going to care and someone that is there for you. And if no one else cares, know that I fucking care. I, Cody fucking Perez, cares, and I want you here. I want you to be alive. You have a purpose, and those are not just words. Me just saying that. I really truly mean that. You have a fucking purpose. You are here for a reason. When your time is up and expired, it will not be by your own hand. It's not going to be from your depression. It's not going to be from you taking your own life. It's going to be because fate came and time is up. That's going to be for all of us. The last one that we have here is from Courtney Lashever. Courtney says, being drugged and raped by a man who I thought was my friend. At first, I thought I consented, but when I went to this group on Facebook where people ask questions about sexual health, I described what happened to me. A couple of people said to me, I'm so sorry you got raped. You were drugged, and that didn't equal consent at all. I felt so mortified, and when I told my late mom, she told me she was so sorry it happened to me. I vividly recall after I met my now husband, I deleted that creep off my friends list, and that creep got so pissed. He messaged me and I didn't respond, blocked him. My husband told me along with my therapist that I didn't have to explain anything to that creep. What got me through it was therapy and my husband, who is so patient with me from that experience. And it made me realize that anyone who refuses to give you their phone number or address isn't to be trusted at all, especially if you ask them where they got their pot from and they refuse to answer. If anyone has ever been raped, remember this: it's not your fault ever. It's the rapist's fault. Rapists rape because they're sick and enjoy degrading their victims. There's hope, and therapy helps so much. Yeah, I remember you sharing that story, Courtney, and that shit just makes me mad. Any abuse on women it just makes me angry. And that's coming from somebody that I've mentioned here before. I witnessed my mom being abused at one point. My dad was being physically abusive with her, and I had to stab him in the back with a pen. So it makes me very, very angry that there is people out there walking that have done things like this and just able to get away with it. And they don't stop. It's not like it's like, oh, this is a one-time thing or this happened by accident. There's no accident in that. When you do something like this, it's this person's fucked in the head and they will do it again. They will repeat. It's not something that is a one-time thing. And so these people do deserve to be blasted. They deserve to be put in jail. And like I said earlier with the comment from earlier, karma will get to them and they will pay for what they've done. So thank you for sharing your story. So last but not least, I'll share mine. And I have a couple of different ones. As I mentioned here on the podcast earlier, there's a few folks that I think can relate to what mine is. And so for me, some of the things I thought I'd never get through that I did get through. So first one was losing a family member, more specifically like parents, grandparents, whatever. That I just never thought I could, especially my grandma. Anyone that knows me knows that my grandma was like my mother, like my second mother, but basically like my mother because she raised my brother and I while my mom was working. We lived with my mom and my grandma, but my grandma was always there. She's the one that fed us. She's the one that did literally everything for us while my mom was working. And so when I lost her back in 2014, I was devastated. I still am haunted by it and I still hurt over it. And I miss her so damn much. I've never stopped thinking about her. I still remember her smile. It's engraved in my brain. Her smile, how she used to love me and how she used to call my name, and just the sweetest woman you would ever want to ever meet. And losing my dad too. I lost my dad in 2006 due to alcoholism. He died from alcoholism, and I didn't think I'd be able to do it. I didn't think I was going to be able to live without him or losing him. I didn't know how I was going to survive. And it was one of those things with his death. That was the first person that I lost in my life that was really close to me. I'd lost family members before, but never lost a parent. So I didn't know how I was going to deal with that. And so I didn't know how to deal with it either. What I did to deal with it was I drank, I partied extra, not in celebration or of that, but that's when I started really partying more and getting into the point of just numbing myself down and ignoring the feelings that I had of the loss of my dad. I didn't deal with it the way I should have. I cried, of course, but it didn't really hit me until some years later. And to this day, I live with a lot of regret and a lot of things that I wish I would have done, could have done, whatever. But I try to remind myself that everything happens for a reason, and you can't help how you feel or how you felt at that time or what was going on at that time for you to react the way you did. And so I never thought that I'd be able to survive that. I did. And I think that the reason my dad went first was probably to prepare me for my grandma, who died, 7, 8 years later, to kind of prepare me what death was going to be like. And I think by that point, I kind of knew that it was okay to cry. I knew that it was okay to feel and let go of everything that was hurting inside. And that was probably the reason why my dad went first before my grandma. My grandma died at 92. My dad died at 50. And I didn't honestly think I'd ever get through either one of those. I think death is one of those things that we think about like, oh, we'll never get through it. We'll never be able to get through it. I couldn't live without so-and-so. But the truth is, yes, we can. And we do. The older we get, the more that we're going to experience it, right? Because your friends are going to die, parents and loved ones, family members die. And that's just the reality of life. The longer we're here, the more that we experience love, the more that we experience death. What kept me going? Well, knowing that I didn't have a choice but to keep going. What was I going to do at that time? I would have upset my family members. That would have been, let's say, for example, if I just gave up and said, it's not worth living, I'm going to go X myself out. What would that have done? It would have done nothing for anyone. It would have been selfish on my part for the mere fact that we just lost my dad. And now I'm going to take my life. And now my brother's going to be without a brother. He's going to have to deal with that pain. My mom's going to be without her son. She's going to have to deal with that pain. My stepdad's going to have to deal with that. My siblings, cousins, all that. it would have been a selfish thing on my part to do that. And I just didn't have it in me. I knew that I just had to keep going. Because as I mentioned earlier here tonight, like when our time is up, our time will be up. It's not going to be by my own hand that causes me to go. What would I say to someone that's facing a similar struggle? I would say definitely feel what you're feeling. Try to understand it. If you don't understand it, why are you confused about it? What's confusing you about it? And talk it out with somebody. Talk it out with a close family member that may be going through it with you. Talk it out with someone that's dealt with a similar situation that you've gone through. So I always think that it really sucks watching someone slowly die that you know is dying. And I don't know which is worse. Someone that's slowly dying that you know is going to die and you just watch the process, or when you suddenly get news that someone died and you didn't get to say goodbye or anything. Like, both things are horrible. And there's different ways that people pass. So maybe if you can bond with somebody and talk to someone that has dealt with something similar, whether it was a sudden death or a long-term, like slow death that they witnessed, just talking it out with someone that you trust, someone that you love, someone that might understand, helps a lot. Talking really, 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 really does help, because it helps you get things off your chest, and then you can bounce off their emotions and their feelings and what they dealt with and how they dealt with it and how they feel, and they can validate how you're feeling. And I think that talking it out really does help relieve a lot of the pain that you're holding inside and a lot of the questions you may be hiding in emotions. And holding it in does nothing but harm you in the long run. Take it from someone that's done that a lot in his life. Holding emotions is never good. You got to let them out. You got to let them out. And it's the best advice I could give to someone like that. The other thing that I would say that I thought I'd never survive without is, I think all of my relationships where there was a breakup involved, I always constantly felt like it was the end of the world. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen. What's going to happen to me? Who am I going to be with next? What is life going to look like without you? And even if I didn't love the person in that way, even if I was already over the feelings, even if I was already over everything, I still felt like I was not going to. It sounds crazy and it sounds weird, but I still felt at that time, right after the breakup, that I didn't think I was going to survive. Like, how am I going to live without this person now? I may not love them, I may hate things about them, whatever, but now they're not a part of my life. Like, what does that mean? And I don't know if that means that I just let them be like such a big part of my life, especially when you live with someone or when you've dated someone since 8 years, 9 years, whatever. You've gone through this and that. I think it's the scary part that scares people is you don't know. You have all this freedom on your hands now, and you have to learn to live without a person. And then all these thoughts come into your mind, right? Like, you start thinking about, what's my next person going to be like that I'm going to date? I'm going to have to get comfortable with them again. I have to re-explain my story, and they're going to have to get to know me. I have to find out what their quirks are. They're going to have to find out what my quirks are, what I like and what I don't like. Like, you have all these things, and it is scary. Change is scary. It's a scary fucking thing, man. It's not easy, and it's one of those things that it can make us think that we can't live without the person. And I think that that's why the breakups that I've been a part of have always felt like that right away. But then I feel like, not instantaneously, but pretty quickly, I get over it. And I don't know if it's because I remind myself that, hey, you've been through this before. You've dealt with this before. You've dealt with worse before. I always think about some of the worst things that, yes, we felt like this before, but guess what? You made it through, and now you are here with a different story of something similar. So guess what? This is just another opportunity for you to build on your strengths, your emotionals, manage your emotions, and rebuild and build something new. So what I would say to someone that's facing a similar struggle like that is, remind yourself of who you are. Remind yourself of the things that you've gone through, the things you've overcome, and know that it's going to be okay in the end. Whatever's meant to be will be, and it will happen. And you're going to meet someone new, and you're going to have new experiences. And that person might be your forever person, or maybe it'll be a person that is in your life for X amount of time, and then they're gone. But regardless, life goes on. You will move on, and they will move on, and life will continue. So those are my 2 things that I would say to answer this week. Now, please stay tuned, because segment 2 is up next with Vinny. And as I mentioned, we had a great conversation about addiction and overcoming it, coming together with your community and connecting with your faith to help you get by and through the challenges that addiction brings. So stick around for segment 2 that's up next with Vinny. Welcome to segment 2 of the podcast on the Liquid Shape. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. My guest, I just literally met about 5 minutes ago. His name is Vinny. Vinny, welcome to the Liquid Shape Podcast. I'm very happy to have you here and for us to get to know each other and you share with us, your experience in life and what have you.
Hey man, thanks so much for having me, Cody. And yeah, let's go for it. Let's see what we do.
Yeah, let's start off with you telling the audience about yourself and your story, and then as I mentioned, we'll ask questions as they come up.
Yeah. All right. So I'm 42 years old. I was born in 1984. One of the things that I would like to start is that year, literally, it's so infamous in history, just for the fact that so many things exploded in 1984. That creates some type of like situation in your mind to be like, dude, man, that year Apple came up with services, MTV started, all of this like pop situations exploded into society, and I was born in that year. So I feel like that has something to do with my life in a way, and I see it happening with other people born in that specific year. Like just some special things have happened in their lives. But so I was born that year, and I was born in a Christian home. I was raised by a preacher. My dad is a pastor, and he was very conservative, but just a Christian, not doing too many bad stuff and whatnot, nothing to do with politics or whatever. He was just a very, I see it now as an old guy, and I think, oh, he was a true Christian when I was growing up, but I hated it. I guess any other kid would look at their parents and wanted to break the rules or bend the rules, and my dad was like, heck no. So I had a pretty strict father growing up. My mom was just like him, so I had two iron rods at home. We were happy, so it's not like a dark picture. We were really happy because I complied with all of the rules as a kid. I'm the youngest one of we're three brothers, only guys in my family, and we were happy. We were very a normal family, I will say. And one of the things that quickly happened when I was like probably 6 years old is that MTV started bombarding network with video music and whatnot. So at a very young age, I started listening to rap and to metal and to rock and all the things that were back in the early 80s on MTV. I think, and that's one of my points, I think that had some influence in the way I developed. I didn't kept it Christian. Pretty quick, my two older brothers, they start like showing signs of rebellion and showing signs of like not being too committed to church and my dad's rules. So skipping forward, we got into normal issues growing up. Soon as I turned 12, things got a little quickly out of hand. So my middle sibling is 4 years older, and my oldest brother, he's 6 years older than me. So they were already hanging out with teenagers, and I was barely on my 9 years old. And I started imitating them in everything they were doing. Typical younger brother that wants to follow up after their brothers.
Yeah.
So the problem is that it wasn't really cool what they were doing. This is super late 80s, early 90s. Life was completely different. Society was different. Kids used to do really crazy stuff behind the curtain and no one knew what was going on. So I started hanging out with them. They accepted me. Their friends accepted me. One of the things that happened is that when I was a very like young, I kind of got bullied because of my last name. And I guess I was in a bubble kind of upbringing because of my parents. So I was very naive, very innocent, while my other friends, they got parents that party and drink. So they were a little more awakened than me to society, to habits and stuff. I would get bullied big time when I was a kid. So as soon as I had the opportunity to be cool, I took full advantage of that. And that led me to a bunch of problems down the road. So I started hanging out with them, and the bully became a bully. So I started being mean, and I started just trying to be cool, basically. One of the things that happened is that when I literally graduated sixth grade elementary, one of my friends brought me to their house. After the whole thing, we went to his house, as kind of typical, and he had beers in his house. So at the age of 12, we didn't had one sip. We had like 2 or 3 beers each. So I got pretty wasted and I got pretty freaked out because how was I going to show up to my house drunk? So things escalated quickly right after that. My older brothers, they were already drinking and partying underground and whatnot. So I started hiding from my parents really like early. As soon as I hit seventh grade, I was already hiding from them. That year, literally, I tried for the first time substances. And from that point on, I mean, I know this is like to go in detail a little bit, but from 13 years old, pretty much until I was like 25, 27 years old, I continuously kept on partying heavy and drinking and doing drugs and whatnot. But everything started there at a very, very young age. I used to kind of feel embarrassed a little bit about that. Then I don't know if you know this comic is called his name is Bobby Lee. He was also like came up from a very like bubbled environment, middle class family, but he tried meth like when he was like 11, and he got hooked on drugs for like all of his teenage and adult life almost. Now he's like 17 years sober or something like that. So he's also somebody that I look up to, because I'm like, dude, we were kids when that thing was exposed to us, and he overcame, and I'm in the journey also, not 17 years old sober, but I'm there. So right off the situation with alcohol and drugs at an early age, I kept on partying. I try to get a job as soon as possible, as soon as I could, just to like stop asking money from my parents and kind of stopped stealing from them. And I started getting money as soon as I could. And all of the money I got, it went directly, like literally specific for drugs and alcohol. So it became my habit, my hobbit. It became everything basically. And I carried that for many years. When I was a young adult, I never faced consequences of my actions. I did a lot of bad stuff during those years in my teenage. And then when I was in my 20s, I was still fresh, no consequences or anything. I start having, well, just to make it short, 5 car accidents in my whole life. It's pretty much like a story of like this guy. I've been down the road of car crashes. So that kind of went down until I almost lost my arm in one of those accidents, which was the last one, actually. And I spent a whole year coming in and out of the hospital. I had an encounter, and down the road, I kind of faced certain episodes in my life that I realized I got nobody by my side right now. And I started praying. I started like, I'm not gonna reject the power of God or a higher being that at least still it's keeping me alive in this whole mess. So there were certain episodes in my life that I kind of came humble and clean toward my situation because I was already in the mud. So life kept on going that way. I did had an encounter with God, and I kind of got clean and went to a church, and I did the whole like young adult church guy for a while. But after a while, literally in church, someone offered me heroin
Oh
inside the church. So it
my
was not like I
goodness.
went out to a party. It was this guy in rehab. Our that church, it had a lot of people in recovery. So it was like we were exposed to that, and I was a kid, and I was involved in all of that mess. So obviously they were my friends as well. So this guy, he was like, dude, I'm strung out, help me out and whatever. So I drove him to a place where he bought the stuff. But when he was buying it, he says if I wanted some coke, and coke was my thing. So I was like, I didn't hesitate. I just went with it. And that was one of the worst nights of my life. I went with him. We hung out the whole night, and that thing was horrible. That trip was horrible, like horrible. I've never experienced something that I felt good. Stop breathing. Literally, every time I would stop breathing, I felt so good. When I realized it was like a minute of me like not voluntarily stop breathing. So it was weird though.
Wow.
After that took me out of church again. Like I don't know if it was shame, probably was shame, probably was guilt. And from 25 to 35, I was back again with all of this like partying, excessive drinking. One of the things that happened is that it's a typical story, man. After a while, the friends are gone, job opportunities are gone, and you find yourself like alone, and it's still with the addictions and still with the heavy habits. So I I fall into a dark pit. It's kind of like the same story all over again. It's like the devil or life that just like keep on playing, record and repeat on a lot of people. And that's something that if we could be smarter than that, it will be awesome to realize that what we're doing is not being cool or original or whatnot. We're just following the same pattern of destruction of so many other people behind us.
Yeah.
So that led me to drinking alone, doing drugs alone, and isolation and chemicals are terrible for your brain. You start like rotten. You start like becoming something else. Literally your peace, your smile, it's gone. The face of the person that you used to be, it's gone. The first people and the only people perhaps that really notice that is your parents. So you're not just killing yourself, you're killing your parents in the process. And even though they will smile at you, they will look at you and still like being there for you as protectors and as the role of parents, you're hurting them big time. So I was completely ignorant of that, never self-analyzed myself, never went to therapy, never did anything to better myself. And right after 35, yeah, that was 2019, I had this accident that took me out the whole year. I didn't work because I was in and out, like 8 weeks of rest after every surgery. So I had 6 surgeries on my left arm. I had a lot of time to watch Netflix and also to think.
Were these accidents that you were getting into, were you were under the influence, or did it just happen coincidentally, like around the time that you were using, or?
Yeah, most of them were like while being drunk. This one, the one that I had on 2019, I was high and I was drunk. So I was trying to drive back home, and it was like 1 in the morning. I got like disoriented and I lost like the way home. And I hit a wall. Like literally, I hit like in an alley. I hit a wall, but it was heavy. The accident destroyed my car. It fractured and dislocated my left elbow. So it was a mess. It was a mess. I didn't hurt nobody but myself. The car was total, and that was pretty much it. I had to report it, and that's it. But yeah, it was a mess because the complications after, they were like pretty messy. Like my arm kept on rejecting the procedures, and they put screws and metals. My body rejected it, so they had to take them out. It will get so infected like a football, and I was like annoyed and frustrated that my arm didn't heal. They told me like after the first surgery, 6 weeks, you're good to go, and that didn't happen. So right after that, at the end of 2019, the procedures were over. I just had to go to physical therapy. I couldn't move my arm. My arm was like stiff and stuck in one like diameter, very tight. So it looked so bad though. I had to like put effort in the physical therapy to release the tendons and muscles. But right after that, the pandemic happened, COVID-19. So instead of like finishing the year and finally coming out and start socializing again and start doing life again, I got wrapped up back into my room again. So I stayed 2019, 2020, and some of close to 2021 inside my house. So isolation, chemicals equals depression, but dark depression. Like you really just get out of your bed to go to the bathroom and you come back right back into. So I was pretty depressed. I kept on using, I kept on drinking, I kept on being isolated from everything. It took me so much time to like being able or have the courage or the energy to even get out of there. And one of the things that happened is that I started praying. I went on and realized that I really couldn't do it by myself. My parents were not too nice to get too involved in my life. So they kind of like we were kind of like independent at that point. So nobody really had the chance to approach me and to break down some walls that I obviously was living in. So it was just God, and I started praying little by little. I didn't stop drinking, but my mind began to clear a little bit, and I seek help. And the only thing I really knew how to, well, I did hire a life coach like in 2022. That person really helped me, gave me a lot of vocabulary for my feelings, a lot of perspective. It did help me a lot. But after, and it's kind of expensive, so sometimes you can, sometimes you really can't. The other thing is that after that life coach, I went and looked for a church. I was pretty much in need of community. So that was what happened. I have some skills. I played drums because when I was a teenager, out of the whole crazy world, I did learn to play drums, and this was in church. My dad paid for a guy to teach me how to play, so I learned that. And my dad saw that I was like kind of fighting to recover myself, so he wanted to help, and he hired. Well, he didn't hire. He told one of his friends, pastor friends, if they needed somebody to play drums at his church. So he said, yeah. So I started playing drums at church again. And that was for like maybe 3 years. After that, I was pretty busy working, and too many hours of work kind of led me back to the liquor store. So it was like now I'm kind of getting back into my like feet and being healthy, but I'm working like 12, 14 hours a day. And when I'm getting out of there, I'm stressed out and tired and frustrated. The first escape is going to a liquor store. So the cycle kind of like it began again, and I started drinking again and whatnot. So that was bad again. But I was already a little more wiser not to just go all out. Anyway, 2 years ago, I really like decided to stop, and I began a journey to recover myself and to clean myself. And I found a good community of people that have put up with me probably two times that I kind of like went off the wagon, and they had a lot of love to accept me and be like, dude, no worries, no problem, we got you. And that helped me. I guess love is what really put me back on track into like better myself. I started loving myself. So all of that is kind of like what happened up until 2026.
I love that, man. And you're right. I've heard that before from other guests where they said that it took them being around people that loved them and people that accepted them and that were not judging them and understood that there's going to be times that you slip up and you fall, and judging someone or shaming someone, that doesn't help anything. Of course, it's good to have, I think, conversations about if you
Yeah.
notice that someone, to see what their plan is to get back up and going, and encourage them that they don't need to go down that path. It's crazy to hear your story just because it's very similar to mine. I can relate to that. I was born in 86 and I was definitely an MTV kid, and
Uh-huh.
I grew up with older cousins and older friends that were all partying and drinking. And what we saw on TV was always the guy with all the chicks and the
Yeah.
beer and the joints, and what we see in movies and MTV. Get encouraged that that's the way to live and that's what you need to be. And then especially when you get into like middle school and high school, you get into the pressures of people are partying. You want to be social. You want to fit in. And like you said, you went from being bullied to being the bully because now you're being accepted and you got to be cool and you have this image that you have to protect or to be, and you think that's the way to be. And I can relate to all of that stuff. Just what you were saying there, I'm like, man, this guy's saying my story.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I can relate to all of that stuff. How many times did you try to get sober before this recent time where you were just like, all right, that's it?
It was many times, man. It was like, okay, this time it's over. After kind of like a couple of sick days, you kind of feel like, dude, this is enough. This is it. You're like hangover for like 2, 3 days, and that's when you kind of have a thought of like getting your life together. But then I will like stay sober for 2 weeks. I will stay sober for a month, and I will just like forget about it. Just literally keep going. So it was many, many attempts, man. I tried and I tried. It never really stick. And like I was telling you before, I really never went to AA. I really didn't. I read the entire book actually, because they have a book with their rules. I read it and I was like, this is pretty Christian-y kind of. It has a lot of foundations in Christianity. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I didn't like the label of hi, I'm Vinny and I'm an alcoholic. I really didn't like that though.
Yeah.
So I was like, nah, I'm not gonna go there. I think sometimes you think you're too cool to search for help like that. I really didn't go with that, and all I really did was praying, man, praying, and God began to kind of like open doors here and there, so I could find community, so I could find like people, and that's the funny thing though, that after, and it's so crazy that after all of the partying and drinking, you end up by yourself. that's the trap. It's like you're completely trapped, and you got money enough to keep buying cheese, basically.
Yeah.
But you go back into isolation, and I mean, we were not meant to be alone, literally. And I'm still dealing with that because after so many years, dude, it's like it's not a quick fix. It's not a magical trick. It's a journey, literally, and a journey most of the times is long.
Yeah, I was about to say. So part of that journey is, and I'm sure you can relate to this, that people, even if you don't push them away, that once you stop drinking or once you stop using, your friends or the people that were partying with you or hanging with you, a lot of them will just disappear. Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like they think that like they can't hang out with you anymore, or maybe you're not cool enough anymore, or maybe you're a square or whatever. I lost a lot of people in my life and around me because of that. And I don't get invited to certain things. And I'm like, and everyone's different. I know some people can't be around it once they quit. I could
Hmm.
be around it. I have alcohol in my house because my girlfriend drinks, but I don't get tempted by it. But I know
Right.
there's people that would be a trigger and they can't be
Oh
around
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
But me, I can still go to bars. I play in a band, so I have to be in like in an environment, and my band members all drink. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I knew when I quit, I had to accept the fact that I'm going to be around it. It's going to be tempting. That there's going to
Mhm.
be people around me that do it. I have to be stronger than my addiction, or stronger than my head of saying that, yeah, I can have a drink, or I want to try this, or maybe I can do it and then be fine. And overcome that, because the reality of it is that no matter where you go, alcohol is going to be there. Drugs, they're everywhere, but maybe not as frequent and as common as alcohol. When you go to the grocery store, you go to a restaurant, you go to a wedding, or you go to a birthday party, there's going to be alcohol. I've come to that realization. So for me, I lost people. And another thing that I've been talking about recently on the podcast, and no one warned me about this, was, and it took about 2.5 years, 2 years for this to happen, because I'll be sober 3 years in September. It took me about 2 years before I started feeling things again. And I don't mean like in a overly sensitive way, but yeah, maybe in a sensitive way where like I'm actually able to feel again. I was numb for so long because I had
Yeah.
been drinking and partying since I was in high school. And my first time drinking was actually when I was 12, when I
Mhm.
was hanging out with some friends. But I've been consistently partying since I was 15. And that's a really young age to be putting chemicals in your body and then to be doing it consistently.
Yeah.
And up until I started getting sober, I started getting feelings that I hadn't felt in so many years. And then even feelings that I haven't felt.
Mm.
And sometimes I have to stop and think. I'm like, am I overthinking this, or what's going on? And then I realize that I'm starting to feel again, and I just had been numbing myself for so long, and so now I'm like, I'm questioning, like, am I in my feelings too much right now, or what the heck is going on? Like, why am I taking this so personal? But it's that I had been numbing it so much, and I just didn't. I think I didn't care. Alcohol was the main priority for me, and no one warned you about that or tells you
Mhm.
like, hey, guess what? Once you get sober, there's going to be steps and things that come along, and it's not going to be instantaneously.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, nobody really tells you like the consequences of it, and society and marketing, they just straight up lie to people, like the consequences, not just mentally, emotionally, but physical. Like people literally get sick. Like it's no joke. Like I ended up with consequences of high blood pressure, fatty liver, out of like years and years of abuse.
yeah,
So they don't tell you that, and those are, definitely wake up calls, but it shouldn't be that way. Like at this point in time, with so much information we have via the internet and everything, society should start waking up to the realization that it's not something to celebrate, that it's not something to like enjoy, but the actual consequences, like medical bills and mental problems and emotional problems. And yeah, no one really tells you that.
and all the depression that it comes afterwards too. Like, I developed anxiety because of my drinking.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, I always had depression. I have that still, but I feel like since I stopped drinking, it has really reduced big time, and it's also shifted how I think and how I see things. So I don't know if you're like this or not, but now I appreciate everything. Like, I wake up early in the morning so I can work out. The very first thing I do when I wake up is I count my blessings. I literally think about all the things that I'm talking about just being thankful to be alive again.
Yeah.
That I have a roof over my head, that I have a job, that I have my girlfriend, I have my dogs, I have my family, I'm in good health. Like I start thinking of all those things and kind of like mentally listing them in my head.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
first thing I do, and it really sets the tone for the day for me. And then the next thing I do is I get on the treadmill, I start running before work, and then even when I'm on my way to work, it's a good chance for me to be alone and reflect and just think about all the good things I have in my life. And that makes it so much easier for me to not want to drink, because
Yeah.
then I think about, if I was to have a drink, I know exactly where that road takes me, and I know that it's going to be chaos, and I know I could lose everything that I'm thankful for, and it's not worth it to me at all. Do you ever get tempted, or do you ever get like that voice in your head that says sometimes like, well, you'll be fine if you do one drink or anything like that? And if so, what helps you like push that away and say, no, I'm not giving in?
Yeah, I think with what you said, I do have to agree with some of the ideas of AA, in which they said that you will be in addiction for your whole life, basically, because I think that little voice never goes away. That temptation, desire to kind of sneak around or go behind it and do it. I think it doesn't go away, but you become kind of wiser and smarter than that. One of the things because I mean, I could tell you, like last Friday, I had the thought, I got some money, I should stop by a liquor store. So that little feeling, that thought never goes away though. But yeah, you become clever to realize, nah, this is where, like what you said, this is gonna lead me back to this whole mess. And that is something that I do put into perspective, and it has worked. The other thing that has helped me, it's the fact that I have plans. I started realizing that if I'm gonna go to church, I'm not gonna mess up from Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be like completely focused. I got church on Sunday. I'm gonna go to church on Sunday. I'm gonna go to church on Sunday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every thought that is coming, I'm like, nah, man, you got something to do. You have a place that you have to go and not show your best, because really church is not to be there because you're the best. You're a mess. And
Yeah.
that's why you need church. But it has helped me, and getting involved in other communities like volunteering and stuff, it has helped me big time, just for the fact that I need to show up. I don't have kids, unfortunately, and I think if I have kids, or for people that has dealt with addiction and they become sober, I think that their kids are a gear, an engine to, like, I gotta show up for my kids. In my case, since I don't, I have to remember that I got church on Sunday, or that I'm gonna do something on Saturday. And it's also a matter of, like what you're saying, dude, waking up in a bed under a roof after years of abusing your finances, your body, with substances, and you realize you didn't end up dead, homeless, or in jail. That's a huge reason for you to be grateful every day. So I think we went through all of that, and now we appreciate life a little bit more than the rest, because we overcame those dark days.
100%. And I always tell myself I can't get cocky. I can't think that I beat it, because the minute that I think that is the minute that I'm vulnerable to think that I can have a drink or give in and think
Yeah.
that I've conquered something. So I don't like to, like you said earlier, I don't like to tell myself that, hi, I'm Cody, I'm an alcoholic, and identify myself as an alcoholic, as far as like that's my personality. I don't like to
Yeah.
look at it that way.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm a person that has an addictive personality. So that's like a trait that I have. And so I recognize that. And I'm one of those people that I cannot do something and not just go full balls to the wall. Like it's either I do it all, I go to the extreme, or I don't do it at all. And that's the way I did it with drinking. And when I was partying with drugs,
Mm-hmm.
I was always usually the last person
Yeah.
to drinking, and when I'd run out, I was already looking for ways to get more. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was it was just it was always chaotic. I never knew what was going to happen. Like the nights were always unpredictable, or the days, depending on if I was day drinking. But I always knew that it was going to end in the next morning with regret and anger with myself, embarrassment. I was going to be hurting a lot, because the hangovers, as you get older, they only just get worse. I turned 40 in in May. So my hangovers were lasting 2 to 3 days. And when you keep yourself busy, I feel like you basically, it's not that you have an excuse, but you have a reason and a
Yeah.
purpose to make sure you're showing up the best way that you can. You may not always be able to give it 100% because like some days, like I was just saying right now myself, I'm sick today, but I almost called out of work today just because I wasn't feeling well at all. Like I woke up with the allergies that were just killing me. My throat just was really
Right.
itchy, but I was like, what? I need to push through this. I'm going to show up. I'm going to go do my job and just, I'm going to push through. And so if I know that if I had been drinking the night before, and then on top of that, I was feeling like the allergies were hurting me, I would have definitely called out today and I would have been like, nah, screw it. And that's just basically how I lived from like when I was 15 until I think it was about 36, 37 when I stopped drinking. I lived my life where drinking was it was literally everything. Whatever I was doing, if I was going to a show, drinking was a priority. So we had to figure out where we pre-funk in. Let's go get beers. If I was going to a sporting event, if I was going to a birthday gather, if I was going to anything, the only thing that mattered was drinking. And now, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but now that I'm sober, anytime I'm doing something, now I feel like everyone around me is doing those things. And I'm just like, really? Like people, like society has really normalized it.
Yeah.
Where I feel that I don't think they even realize it.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I've heard from podcasts and from speaking to people is that a lot of the times people don't think they have a problem because they compare themselves to the extreme worst cases that they know or that they've read about. So they're like, well, I know I drink every day, but I'm not out in the corner and living under a cardboard box. I'm not getting arrested. I'm not getting arrested for domestic violence. I'm not going in and out of jail. I still have my job. So they justify their use because they're not at the level that they've set that's the lowest you can get. But it's like, I always tell people, I'm like, well, compare yourself to somebody that doesn't drink and then look at what your situation is. And maybe you'll look at things a little bit differently and you'll see like, wow, compared to that person, I may have an issue. And I'm no one to tell anybody that they have an issue. So I don't ever tell my friends or anybody like, hey, but when people come up to me and talk to me about getting sober, they ask for tips or things like that. I always try to bring it back to them and ask them like, well, do you think you have an issue? And then I let them basically tell me what their scenario is. And I'm like, well, be honest, like if you're drinking every day, but you're only drinking a 6-pack, can you stop drinking for 6 months? If you can't stop drinking for 6 months, maybe you do have an issue. I don't know. Who am I to say? But it's easier for folks to say like, oh, I can quit whenever I want. I used to be that guy. I used to say that. I used to say, oh, I can quit whenever. And that's what delayed me from getting sober.
You just forget after a while that whole thing about like, oh yeah, I can't stop anytime. I forgot because I used to say that, but after a while you realize, dude, it's been 3 years and you have not stopped.
Yeah. And it becomes habit. It's like you don't even think about it. Like it's like you go, like you said, you get off work, you have this habit of, okay, well, I'm going to hit this bar.
Yeah.
I'm going to go after that. I'm going to go pick up some beers so that when I go home, I have some beers to drink. And before you know it, it's like 3:00 in the morning and you have to get up for work at 5.
Yeah. And you're not 20 anymore. So you can't really, really go with that.
No, not at all. So it's just one of those things where, unfortunately, like you said, it's been normalized so much. And it's everywhere. The marketing behind it is just, they don't have enough campaigns to talk about the bad things. And I'm sure you had this when you were growing up, at like the DARE program that would come into the schools and they talk to you about, if you see that. But I think that those things, when they teach you those, it's like, I don't think they went about it the right way. To me, I didn't really learn much about it. It was like scare tactics almost. Yeah. And they didn't really talk about like the reality of it. They just took it to like it almost felt like they were telling like a horror story.
Yeah.
They don't tell you the truths about how it's going to be normalized, it's going to be around you, and it might make you feel good, but then eventually it's going to cause problems for you long term and health wise. And
that campaign, they didn't show you that you could be a social part or a member of society, having a job, having a home, and being productive, but still going and drink a lot. So they don't really put that. They just show the crack house.
Yeah, they
With the
show the
person
extremes, and so then
totally destroyed. But there's the other half of the people that actually are paying for the product on a daily basis because they got jobs, and half of their money goes to waste.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was for me. I just remember I was a bartender when I turned 21, and it was always I would take a couple of drinks before my shift. I would work because it would help me be social, and then once I closed up the bar, because we closed early. We'd close by like 10 or 11 during the week. And right as soon as I got off, I would go. I had like 4 different bars I would stop by at. And then I would stop at a strip club that was right down the street from where I lived. And it was literally like that every single night. And I would blow money like crazy because
Yeah.
I was drinking, I was driving like an idiot.
Yeah.
And then I had all this disposable income because I'm 21. I didn't have any real responsibilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And blowing money on gambling, on dancers, with sitting there at the tables while they're dancing.
You feel
And
you feel so cool that the bouncers know you at places.
exactly.
And you can buy bottles and you bring people in because the bar knows you. I
Yep.
did that for a long time. All of my 20s I did that.
Yep.
And it's ridiculous, man. I mean, you're a clown.
I think that you get that high that you get, not specifically the high that you get from the drinking, but the high that you get from people treating you like you're like this.
Like you're somebody.
Yeah, like you're somebody, but it's like really what they know is that you're going to be consistently coming in there. You're going to be spending money. You're going to bring more people with you because you have your party crew, and then they just see you as like, oh, that's money right there. Let's just if it just be playing one of his favorite songs on the on the thing on the jukebox, and that brings him in, that keeps him in, or if I buy him a drink, he's going to feel like this is home, and it's just it's crazy to reflect back on that life because it almost feels, I don't know if you feel this way or not, but it almost feels like you're living a completely different life than you were when you were drinking or using, because you see things a lot differently and you're kind of now in a clear head. And how long did it take you from when you stopped drinking before you started noticing that like your thinking was clearer, you were able to feel emotions again and all that? How long was it before?
It's been a constant of almost like 2 years, but last year, summer of last year, I went to I like electronic music, so I bought tickets for a festival. I went down to the festival sober, and it was not the coolest experience because I went there and I got there kind of like late, so everybody was already on something, and I stayed there for like 20 minutes. I got a lemonade at the bar, and I started trying to enjoy the show, but all around me was all of these kids, like 20, 21, whatever, wasted, and I start feeling uncomfortable. I was like, "Ah, man, it's not my scene no more. It's not my vibe no more." So I started walking my way out of the Coliseum, of the place there was the event. And as I was walking out, dude, literally there was like girls throwing up on one aisle, like in the dark. There were like girls like knocked out, like on the floor. And I start seeing all of this, and I start feeling like, bro, you those days are over for you.
Yep.
You're done with this, and I guess my eyes were open to see that because I was like, this is so sad, this is so messed up, and not feeling like judging them, but I came out of that. I
Yeah.
was there. I was on the floor or throwing up in a dark place, and yeah, man, like that's one of the situations that I was like, nah, this is it. I was literally afraid to talk to people because I was like, dude, I'm only cool when I'm drinking. I'm only able to like put well thoughts together when I'm drinking so I sound smart. So when I stop all of that, I was like, I feel dumb right now. I can't talk to people. So
Yeah.
it took me a while to realize like, and not just realize, but literally your brain begins to like exercise again. So your memory comes back, your ability to socialize comes back, and you begin to be like, dude, I really didn't need alcohol. Alcohol was a lie, an excuse. And for me to talk to a girl, for me to talk to people, I've had at this point, I've had a list of so many good experiences, like Thanksgivings and stuff like that, in which there hasn't been no alcohol, and I've been like, "Oh, cool! This was fun." And I think that, like what you were saying, not to sound preachy, but you go through all of that, and if someone needs help, you have the experience to help them. That has helped. That has helped me a lot.
For sure. And I get excited anymore. Like when people talk about it, like even having this conversation with you, I love having these conversations. That's actually why I started this podcast is I love talking to people that I can relate to on that level. Because it helps me, because then I reflect on what I went through. I get to hear what you guys went through, and then I know that other people are listening and they can relate, and I know they can pick hopefully something up from this and maybe apply it to their lives. But I've had a lot of friends that I grew up with that they reach out to me and they'll ask me like, what made you get sober? And usually when they ask me that, I know usually they want to know if like something crazy happened, which in my case, nothing crazy happened. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. But usually what it ends up leading into is they end up saying, well, I'd like to quit someday, or I'm thinking about quitting. And then they start asking me questions about how I did it and what might have worked for me. And I always tell them, I'm like, what it really was is it took me just being sick and tired of feeling that way. And I'm a stubborn dude, man. I am very stubborn. Once I set my mind on something, I will go for it to the extreme. Like I just have an extreme personality. And
Right. One thing that people don't talk about that much, I think, is that the more you keep something in the dark, the harder it becomes to break it.
for sure,
Like the shame of not telling someone, you know what, I'm dealing with pornography. So that opens up a door for you to be like, I'm exposing my darkness, and it does something in your body. Like I'm dealing with heavy drinking, and the more you tell, and especially if you have someone that is mature enough to like listen, not judge you, and help you just by being there, by being present with you, that exposes and breaks the power that things have on you. So this type of conversations, it, yeah, like what you're saying, it helps you. It's literally for you to keep being free, and for the person you're talking to exercise the same freedom to not keep things in the dark, but to expose them. And once you expose them, you're no longer a slave to that.
100%. I agree. And it's when you were talking about going to that festival and seeing it with sober eyes,
Yeah.
man, I related to that so much too. When you were saying that, just because earlier this was it? No, it was last year. Was it last year? Oh, it was. Yeah, I think it was last year. My girlfriend and I we went to Mexico, and I've gone to Mexico so many times. I always go down there, get the all-inclusive, and partied hard. And it was always just like nonstop partying, because you get all those the free drinks, and then drugs it's cheap, and drugs are like literally on the corner everywhere. So every time I went down there, it was always just a party. But the last couple of times I've gone there since I was sober. And the first time I went there sober, it was just crazy to see with my sober eyes everything that's going on around me. Like everyone, all these tourists are all completely like just getting trashed. And now I'm seeing like the corruption that's going on. I'm seeing the streetwalker girls that are out there. I'm seeing like the pimps that are on the side. They're flashing lights across the bars to each other to give signals. There was a lot of craziness that was happening. And I'm just like, I never saw this before. Like, or maybe was it that I was, and it was because I had been drinking every single time. And I think about how many times I was down there that I could have probably got myself killed or in a really bad situation, and I would have had no control because I was drinking and I would have not realized it.
Yeah.
So it made me be a little bit more protective and weary of my friends and my girlfriend when we were down there, because I was like, I know you guys are drinking and whatnot, but I'm going to keep an eye out for things because someone's got to.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like I still hang out with my friends. They go to bars sometimes, but when I'm there, it is a little awkward for me as far as when I see people getting too drunk or when they get too comfortable. Usually that's time for me to be like, all right, I'm out of here, because I know that the conversation's going to go nowhere. And usually nothing good of that comes. It's usually there's fights or drama and shit like that. So I'm just like, I avoid that. But I always offer my friends, I always tell people, I'm like, if you're drinking, let me know. I will drive you to your house, drop you off, do not drink and drive, or if something comes up, I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm at home. If I have to come get you, it's better than you getting behind the wheel, risking your life and risking other lives out there for something stupid as just one night that you were drinking and you wanted to just get home. Luckily now we have Ubers and all that kind of stuff, but I did a
Yeah.
lot of reckless things like before Uber and all that, and drinking and driving, and it was just really stupid. But like you were saying, it is hard to get social again and figure out who you are, because you're kind of relearning who you are. That
Yeah.
drinking becomes an identity. It becomes who you
Yeah. Yeah.
are, and it's hard to break that habit. And once you're sober, you're like, well, am I going to say something stupid? Am I overthinking things? And I'm not fun anymore. And it's like, no, you got to get that out of your head. When you look back after a while, you look back and you're like, man, I was really stupid. Like I got really drunk and I would say stupid things or do stupid things, and it's embarrassing. But I try not to dwell on it, but I kind of refresh my brain sometimes just to remind me that I'm not that person anymore, and I don't ever want to be that person ever again. So
I just feel like alcohol is such a negative energy on yourself, like on your mind, on your little physical brain. Alcohol, like that's why people black out, because the brain is completely saturated or overwhelmed with alcohol. So you just forget who you are. And yes, it takes, to me, it has taken long seasons of relearning to love myself, to know myself, to be with myself. And all of those things that you're working on, like physical workout, but mental and emotional and spiritual, it begins to elevate you. Like you now you're able to see things from a different altitude. And you look down and you're like, bro, yeah, this is a mess. So I think that's part of the healing process. The fact that you start like not being better than others, because it's really not, but you just start seeing things from a different perspective. Your brain is clean, so now you can see things different.
much different. And I feel like once you get to that point of your brain finally clearing up from the abuse and all that,
Yeah, the scars, man.
you have, like I said, you have those emotions that come back, but I feel like you have more empathy too, where
Yeah,
as when you were numbing, or when I was numbing, I didn't care about anyone else but myself.
yeah,
And
yourself, big
now
time.
it's like I care about like I care about my family. I've always cared about my family, but I feel like it was like I cared about them from a distance.
Yeah,
And now it's like I really care
yeah.
about them, and I care about,
You showing it.
you show it, and it's there. And I'm a better person in all aspects as far as who I was. I'm a better person than who I was. I don't ever make myself to be better than anyone else, like you said. Did you find that you started to grow a new passion for things, or get passion again for things that maybe you lost passion for when you were drinking and using once you got sober?
Yeah, I always wanted to surf, and it was something that for, I mean, almost a decade, I just had the thought I want to learn to surf. So I'm in the process of getting my gear. It's a little bit expensive, a little bit, but I'm in the process of like getting into surfing. So that's something that I want to do in the future. So it's a plan that I had when I was like 20. I really never was able to like make it come alive. But right now I'm in the process of that. I'm enjoying a lot of things, man. Like life is it really, I mean, it's not an exaggeration. Life changes, and the way you see life, it changes. Even in the mundane and the normal, life is different and it feels better.
Yeah, I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day. Is that I can't remember the last time that I said that I was bored.
Mm,
If I ever did, it was during my partying and drinking phase, and it was because I had too much time on my hands, and I was drinking, and I was just looking for the next party.
yeah, yeah.
And since getting sober, like I keep, like you said, keep myself busy because I have a new love for life and
Hmm.
appreciation for it. And it's like I feel like if I'm not getting something that I want done, I'm wasting time, and it's moments that I won't ever get back. So I love hearing that you're getting into the surfing and trying to get to that, to get that goal of getting into it and getting your gear together and all that. I think that'll be fun for you. Everyone that I know that's ever surfed, they love it and they become obsessed with it. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
hopefully you
no,
really give that a shot.
the one thing you need to try is not to stay alone and get bored. Because like if I right now that you mentioned that, if I look back, a lot of times, like hundreds of times, I started drinking because I was bored.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're bored, you're wasting time. I mean, there's time is a precious thing. We're only here for so long. And it's like, you make an impact. And I love how you said that you're doing, you do charity stuff and volunteer stuff. I think that's important to give back. And I was on a podcast one time that it was a sobriety one, and the host asked me what I want my legacy to be. And man, that set me, like, I think about that every day now. And that's one of the motivating factors that I have as well, that I always remind myself. And I always think back, like, I'm like, I don't want to be that guy that is known for the partier, or the guy that was an alcoholic or a druggie and that was always wasted and burnt bridges and all that. Like, I definitely don't want to be known for that. That's not who I want to be known for. And I don't want that to be my legacy at all.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how, if you had any family members or whatnot that dealt with addiction, but for me, my dad was an alcoholic and he died from it. And then his dad, my grandpa, also was an alcoholic and died from it. He died at 45. My dad died at 50.
Wow.
And I was not like, that was another motivating factor too. I was like, I don't want that to be my legacy. I got to break that family curse.
Yeah.
I got to show that there's a better way. And now I have a nephew. I don't have any kids myself either, but I have a nephew that I love to death. And I want to be a good example for him. And I don't want to pass along that example to him. And I want to show him that the older kids or whatever can be cool and not be drinking, and could be there's a different way to live. And it's nice to hear. I've been hearing a lot and seeing from friends of mine that have kids that are teenagers. They say that the younger kids don't drink anymore, and so like the sales of alcohol have actually declined.
They're dropping. Yeah,
they're dropping, which is awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Just because I think that they're probably seeing that I think our generation was the party generation.
We're the bad example they don't want to follow.
Exactly. And it's funny because Gen X always used to talk about how they were the hardcore partiers, and then there was the boomers that say that they were. I'm like, no, I think that like the millennials, like if you were born in the 80s, man, that was a generation where shit hit the fan and people took it to the max. Like, I don't even know if like there's even clubs anymore around here where I'm at. Like, I don't think that there really is any. I think sometimes bars will have, like, on certain nights, like they'll have dancing going on at a certain time. But like, I remember growing up, man, like all the, like when I was 21, like everywhere I'd go, like that was around in the city, there was just bars that were clubs and dances, and they'd be packed with people and all that stuff. So I just feel like our generation definitely turned up the notch. Whatever people were doing before that, you know, it may have been extreme, but I think that we took it to another level.
Yeah. It was excess, man.
Well, Vinny, we're about at an hour here, and I want to thank you for being on here and telling your story and your motivating words. Do you have anything that you want to say to the audience, and any words of wisdom or anything you want to leave behind for them?
No, man. Thanks for having me to open up the space to have this conversation, and whoever listens to, and if there's anything that resonates, that's what it is for. And keep it up, keep your head up. You know,
I love that, and I am I'm thankful that you came on here. So I want to thank you again, because there's stories like yours, they do help people, and there's going to be someone out there, I guarantee you, more than one person is going to relate to what we discussed here, and hopefully it helps them to make the changes they need necessarily in their life to better their lives. So thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Hey, man, appreciate it.
And that is the end of segment 2. Thank you guys all so much for tuning into the Liquid Shape podcast this week. Want to give a huge shout out to our monetary contributors, Eric Sheets and King John. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you guys so much for helping keep this podcast going with your contributions. Anyone else out there that wants to throw money at the podcast, it does cost us to run this, and not just cost us our time, but also costs for the software, for the uploads, for the hosting and all that. So we appreciate anything. If you want to donate $1, $5, $10, whatever, we appreciate it. Thank you guys all that contribute to the questions of the week. Thank you guys all who listen to the podcast, who share it. My guests have all been awesome. Thank you guys all for being out here and sharing your stories. As I always mention at the end of the podcast, I'm very thankful for all of you guys. I learn a lot, and I love that. I love the conversations, and I want to wish you all a very great kick-ass week. Hopefully you're going to get see some sunshine wherever you're at, since we are now at the end of June, going into July. Hope you get some sunshine and some great memories with the friends and family, and stay safe out there. I fucking love you, motherfuckers.
Be sure to find us on all social media platforms, follow and subscribe.